Amiga, do you ever feel caught between two worlds? You cherish your cultural background, but sometimes it clashes with the realities of raising a family in modern America. You might feel pressured to fulfill traditional expectations, yet you crave a life that allows you to be your true, authentic self. If you're a Latina mom nodding your head right now, I see you and I get it. Balanced Motherhood is more than your average mommy coaching program. It's a supportive comunidad designed specifically for you. I understand the unique challenges you face navigating between generations and culturas while forging your own path as a mama. Stop feeling like you have to choose between your roots and your future. Balanced Motherhood empowers you to create a life that celebrates your heritage, embraces your motherhood journey, and prioritizes your own happiness. Spots are limited. Don't miss out on this opportunity to connect with a supportive community and create a more balanced life. Visit the link in the show notes to join the waitlist for the next Balanced Motherhood cohort. I can't wait to meet you. Hola, hola, amiga. Today's episode is all about you, the amazing, strong Latina mamas who juggle it all. But let's be honest, sometimes in the whirlwind of motherhood, our own passions can get pushed aside. Maybe you used to love painting or go out dancing con tus amigas. Now, between diaper changes and bedtime stories, those activities feel like a distant memory. I hear you, mujer. I completely understand. Once I became a mommy, I felt completely disconnected from the things that used to bring me joy. It still feels like all my energy is going towards being a mom. And there just isn't anything left over for myself sometimes. But guess what? Rediscovering your passions after becoming a mom is totally possible. So in this episode, we'll explore some strategies for rekindling that flame and making time for the things that truly light you up, even amidst the chaos of motherhood. So stay tuned on this episode as we build on some strategies and ways for you to really rediscover your passion, especially after having a baby. Welcome to the Viva Mami Podcast. I am your host, Jessica Cuevas. I am a mother of two on a mission to help redefine the meaning of motherhood as a modern Latina mom. Motherhood can be a complex journey, interwoven in two identities that often make us feel ni de aquí, ni de allá. Viva la Mami is committed to providing you with knowledge, tools, and support to navigate the challenges and triumphs of motherhood as Latina moms. On the show, we'll be discussing culturally relevant topics that will help inform and empower you in whichever season you are in on your motherhood journey. We'll be joined by Latina moms, experts and professionals who can offer advice, practical tips, relatable stories, and honest conversations. So bring your cafecito as I invite you to be a part of this space as we create comunidad about the exciting and challenging parts of being a mommy. Ahora, vámonos. Okay, mujer. So here's a little story about me. I used to run, and I began running when I was in my mid-20s, all the way until really I became pregnant. I didn't run competitively, but it was more for pleasure. I just developed this new interest in running. Before babies, we lived in a condo in the city of Chicago, and we lived pretty close to the lake. And I loved running right alongside Lakeshore Drive. I used to also run with my dog, who has sadly passed away. It's going to be 2 years in April. And I really enjoyed running with her because she was such a great partner when it came to running. I also loved to read books, and books that really interested me. I used to have a whole collection of books. I had a library, a bookshelf full of books ranging from books that I read in high school, college, and really I just discovered all of these different books that were mostly romance for the most part, but also books written by Latinas. And I also used to bake. I enjoyed baking. I loved that you just follow a recipe and there is just like a science behind baking, where my favorite things to do were to bake pies. And so before being a mom, I had all the time to do these things. And really, I did all of these three things at the same time. And I think it was because I didn't have any other priorities. Nothing was on my list. I didn't have to really take care of others or have to worry about others. I just prioritized on myself. But once I became a mom, I honestly lost all of that. And while this is my second rodeo as a mama of two now, I still haven't gotten the chance to get back to my passions. And while I tried, so in October, if you follow me on Instagram, in October, I posted that I'm going back to running because my goal is to ultimately run a marathon before I'm 40. I have 5 years to get there, but that is my ultimate goal. However, within the chaos of busy schedules and sick babies and different interruptions, and obviously we went through a move and we went on vacation, all of these things kind of gotten in the way where I only ran for 2 weeks and that was it. And my goal was to run for 8 weeks. I know that I shouldn't be harsh on myself for not accomplishing or going back to the things that I loved, but I have to have this understanding that I am in this new season of life. I am not only a mom of one, but I'm a mom of two, and I'm still trying to navigate this identity. And there are moments when I grieve for the old me. And I grieve that I just had the freedom of choosing whether if I want to go out on a run or if I want to read a book that is truly interesting to me and not a book about how to potty train a toddler, you know? And I honestly loved doing the things that I did. I loved to bake without having anyone interrupting me on how to measure this or how to measure that, because as much as I love to be in the kitchen with Diego, I mean, he is a toddler, this is like a sensory kind of experience for him. And he wants to touch the flour or he wants to try the sugar and, he wants to crack the egg. And for me, I did it out of pleasure that I enjoyed it. But now it's more so about I have to watch this kid make sure that he doesn't eat a raw egg, So all of the things that I used to do, it's in a way, I know that it's never going to be the same. But when I went to therapy, my therapist and I talked about this sense of identity, of this new identity and having this sense of identity loss. And she told me that it is okay to grieve what you once had. But now as mamas, we have to sort of rediscover who we are now in this new identity and figure out how to fit in our old passions or perhaps create new ones in this new identidad we're in. And I understand it is such a big struggle for new mamas and moms who transition from 1 to 2 or from 2 to 3 and so forth. The same way as our little ones go through certain milestones or developmental phases, so is motherhood. And we all go through all these different seasons of life through this journey, where there will be times when we won't even get to do our own hobbies and activities and passions that we used to do. But there will come a time when we will have the capacity to do that. No, you are not alone. And I am struggling as well. And I am with you in this journey. And so for today, I'm going to share just different strategies and ways in which we can sort of rediscover our own passions. And so the first question I have is, why do we lose touch with those things we love after having a baby. Know that it is completely normal. Motherhood is such a huge shift in identity and priorities. And I mentioned this, I used to run, I used to read, I used to bake. And suddenly, once baby is here, we kind of put ourselves in the back burner because we need to tend to our children. And even though if we are in a partnered relationship or if we have family who is available to help, at the end of the day, we prioritize our babies over us. And so motherhood is such a huge shift where suddenly our days are filled with feedings, nap schedules, and endless things that we have to make sure that our babies are thriving and surviving. And so finding time or anything else for ourselves can literally feel like a luxury that we just don't have. And on top of that, there's also societal pressures and really the expectation that we should focus solely on motherhood, but not focus on us as individuals. And so as Latina women, we know that there's so many societal and cultural pressures where there's this idea that motherhood should be the sole focus and that anything else is just like not even worth mentioning. But mommies, here's the truth. Taking care of yourselves isn't selfish. It is essential. If you haven't listened to the most recent episode 58, which is how to prioritize on yourself, I would encourage you to listen to that because I share some ideas and ways in which you can put yourself first out of self-compassion and self-love. And so when you reconnect with your passions, you become a happier and more fulfilled mujer. Ultimately, that benefits your family as well. Even though I haven't done this because I haven't gone back to running, Diego still talks about like, oh, you went on a run. Fuiste a correr. Fuiste a hacer ejercicio. And it's funny because he mentions that, he remembers that. And it's been like 5 months since I haven't ran outside. And so he knows that mommy should also prioritize on herself and ensure that she does the things that she enjoys. The same way that we like to see our kids take that swim class or go on that play date with their friends, we should also put ourselves in that sort of position where we are doing the things that we enjoy and love. Because if we don't demonstrate that to our kids, then how are they supposed to know what we love? And so let's talk about how to bring those passions back into your life. Well, the first step is to remember what sparks joy in your soul. What did you love to do before becoming a mom? Was it reading a good book or spending time outdoors or maybe creating art? And so take a few minutes right now to close your eyes if you're not driving and think about it. What activities used to bring you energy and excitement? And so on episode 27, I had a guest interview with Gris Madrigal. One of the things that really got me thinking was that we are women first, and then we are moms. So let that sink in. Oftentimes we go through this identity loss once we become moms. However, we shouldn't lose ourselves. We also have to consider that we are women first. And so how can we really identify our passions or interests, hobbies? And what did you really enjoy doing? And what sparks joy in your life? Even though your passions are probably buried right now, they are still there in you, with you. Now the key is to start small. And you don't need to carve out giant chunks of time. And this is something that I am working on. How do I find little nuggets of my time where I can go back to my passions? Because we all know that we all have busy schedules. And so dedicate maybe 5 minutes of your time or 10 minutes or whatever it is to do the things that you really enjoyed doing. Every little bit counts. And so even though motherhood can be a little messy and there will be interruptions, trust me. And so don't get discouraged if you get stuck to a perfect schedule. And I know that's oftentimes me where I go harsh on myself, where I'm like, I get angry because I had this specific task planned. And in this case, running, right? Like, again, I'm going to go back to running. I had a specific schedule. Oh, okay, I'm going to run every time after 4 p.m. when Alex gets out of work. And that way I can just focus on me. And then one little interruption happened. And then I just like hated myself for not following through. And I'm already a natural perfectionist. And so if we want to stick to going back to our hobbies and our interests, we should be a little loose because at the end of the day, we are moms, right? Like things can happen. But don't get discouraged if something were to be interrupted. And so just be kind to yourself and take small steps in getting to where you'd want to be. And if it is even like running for 15 minutes or reading a book for 10 minutes or whatever it is, like it's okay if you get a little bit of interruptions. It's okay. And on episode 13, so I'm going way back from season 1, on episode 13, I interviewed a mommy musician who is Ani Cordero, and she was always a musician, and she's still a musician. But what I found intriguing with her story was that she still continued on with her passion. Now, music is her career. That is her profession. But the fact that once she became a mom, she still continued on doing the things that she loved. And that is music. And so she even went on tour with her baby. And I'm going to share a quick clip from her interview so that way you can literally hear her words and her advice that she provides to moms.
For a mommy to be or a new mommy, like who is in the fine arts, what are some words of advice that you can give them before they have to contemplate between their passion and their new baby?
It's not a contest. It's not either or. It's both. And you can be your full self and be a mother too. So I think that there's a segment of society that thinks like that when you have a kid, you have to abandon yourself. But I really don't think that's necessary or even wise, because it's not a good example to the kid to show that as the standard. So we're here to have this human experience and to have a good time and to love each other. And so don't abandon yourself.
So mommies, you are incredible. Don't let your passions fade away. Remember, even taking small steps can lead to big changes. Clearly, she didn't lose herself. She didn't lose her passion. And she showcased that even though she is a mom, she still gave herself that self-compassion and self-love to continue on with the passion that she has, and that is music. And I hope that you can utilize this example as a way to not forget about yourself, to know that even if you miss the old you and you miss the things that you used to do, such as old hobbies or what have you, know that you can always bring that back. But there's also something that motherhood can give to you, and that is motherhood can help you rediscover new passions or new hobbies that you thought you never have. So, for example, for me, I discovered a new passion, and that is creating a podcast. And even though I am utilizing this platform as a way to build a business, I love recording, I love editing, and I just love podcasting in general. And so I found a new passion because I became a mom. Obviously, this is a platform for moms by moms. And if it wasn't for me becoming a mom, I wouldn't have been here. And so really think about, okay, now that I'm a mom, what are other ways that I can find different interests or hobbies that I can build upon? Know that you are incredible. Don't let your passions fade away. Remember, even small steps can lead to big changes. You can absolutely reconnect with your passions. In the meantime, take action. Share your passions with me on Instagram, or simply commit to going back to your passions, or find a new passion that works for you. Regardless, at the end of the day, you'll want to make sure you are having fun and that it sparks joy, and that you also prioritize on yourself. I cannot say this enough. And so, mama, know that you should also take care of yourself. Know that you are a woman first and then a mama, just like Gris mentioned, and love yourself. All right, mama. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. Mujer, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to the Viva la Mami podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, will you do me a favor and follow the podcast and leave a rating and review? Hitting that follow button and reviewing my show will allow other mommies like you find this podcast. Your review will also tell me if you enjoy the show, so I would truly appreciate your thoughts. Don't forget, please share this podcast con tus amigas. Also, make sure to follow me at Viva la Mami on Instagram or visit vivalamami.com. Please note the information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice. Okay, mujer, thank you for joining y nos vemos in the next episode.